Right now on Denver 7 News at 8 o'clock on Local 3, more than a dozen Jefferson County schools could be closing due to declining enrollment. What comes next for the students and teachers impacted by consolidation?
Food trucks are fighting for their right to stay in downtown Denver, the 4-month test that could decide whether they're forced out for good.
And could we be in for a more snowy winter? The La Nina outlook that could spell good news for Colorado ski resorts. TBD there on the snow forecast as we take a live look outside from our Mile High camera. It's been a really nice start. A little mix of sun and clouds out there this morning, Lisa.
Yeah, how about your end of August forecast first? It's going to be a pretty warm one here over the next few days. You can see here from Westminster, we do have some clouds as you look up into the foothills and northern Front Range mountains. Quite a bit of cloud cover. We'll see more scattered storms and showers. A little cooler too. We're tracking a weak cold front here this morning. So low 80s, low to mid 80s in Denver by this afternoon, which means we're going to cool back into the upper 70s as early as about 6 o'clock. So if you want to get home and go for a walk or a ride, there will be a chance for a few storms and showers. But it will get cooler, more comfortable later on this afternoon. Take a look at Futurecast. Those storms first in the mountains and then east across the plains by early afternoon. So we're likely going to see some wet roads for the evening commute, especially down across parts of southern Colorado and in through the southern mountains. So still seeing some monsoon moisture today, but it is going to be a bit drier starting tomorrow. And I'll have that full weekend forecast on the Super 7 Day coming up.
A couple of new problem spots. Shouldn't be too bad for you. One's over on the east side of town on Hamden before you get to Parker Road on that westbound side. Another one down here on the south side on Lucin at Plaza Drive before you get to C470. Slight slowing in there. Really, this is one of our slowest drives. Take a look from the camera here at I-76 in Sheridan. You can see all the activity with this wreck here. A lot of vehicles over here on that left shoulder, left lane area, and so they're just really slow in there, and that's why, as you look at the drive times, we're looking at about triple the commute time, 15 minutes compared to 5. So I would suggest using I-25 to I-70 and save yourself some time out to the west side of town. We still will have I-70 closed down this weekend, starting tonight at 10 o'clock, all the way until Monday morning at 5 a.m. So your detour will be using 270, and that includes Saturday for the Broncos game. And we do have still some restrictions on Alameda, the westbound side only. So you're going to use 2nd or 6th Avenue or Mississippi to get around that paving closure that they still have to do after the water main break.
We now know that Jeffco Public Schools could close 16 elementary schools. It would impact nearly 2,500 students and more than 400 full-time staff. The list came out yesterday. These are the schools expected to close. As you can see on this map, they are spread out around the large Jeffco district. Jeffco has lost more than 5,000 students just since 2019, and that has led to a lack of resources and special programs at those smaller schools, limiting student growth. The process isn't over. The school board will vote on the recommended closures in November. So between now and then, there will be some community meetings. But if they do vote to close those 16 schools, those closures would take effect in the next school year. Meanwhile, the district will not be naming preschool sites for closure until November, right before the choice window opens on December 6th. The current contract between Denver Public Schools and the teachers union expires just 5 days from now, so both sides will be back for talks on Wednesday at 9 a.m. Officials say they will go until they reach an agreement. DPS teachers are asking for a starting salary of $55,000 a year, cost of living increases, a stipend for serving on school committees, and extra duty compensation.
It is a big weekend for Denver's downtown crowd. The food trucks are going to be back weeks after they were kicked out following a police shooting as the bars were closing that really had nothing to do with the food trucks. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta is right where those trucks will return this weekend, which is a win for these small businesses that count on the foot traffic.
It is a win, and this spot here behind me, it's where some of those food trucks are going to return. They haven't been here now for more than a month, ever since they were kicked out of the Lodo area. And these are small businesses that we're talking about this morning that really rely on that heavy foot traffic that happens on the weekends, particularly when spots like this here behind me, when bars get out at 2 a.m., you know, that hungry crowd that comes out, they grab a quick bite to eat from the food trucks and then they go on their way. Now, at least some of those food trucks are going to get the chance to start selling again as soon as tonight. Denver's lifting that ban on those trucks. It does come with some strings attached, though. Between 5 in the morning and 9 tonight is when these trucks can come back and start selling again. There's no problem between those times. It's after 9 p.m. that those rules start getting just a little more restrictive. The city giving only 7 licenses out to different food trucks for them to come out and start selling between 9 and midnight. These new rules mean that when bars are let out, the food trucks, they're not going to be here to start selling. Last week, we spoke with a food truck owner who'd been set up in the area for about a decade. He said he was optimistic about the lifting of the ban, but said the damage had already been done to his business.
It's like 80% what we do. Bills, we pay rent, we pay everything. Sometimes you have like 1 or 2 employees, you pay them. So, it's like I'm working for free.
So if food trucks don't follow these rules, then they can either get a citation or they can get some sanctions on their licenses, which of course none of them want after spending so many weeks without being able to do some business in the Lodo area. We do know that there are going to be 2 spots where those 7 licenses are going to be handed out. So that's where those food trucks are going to be able to set up. That's here where we are this morning on 20th and Market and over on 19th and Blake. We're in Denver this morning. I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Thank you, Veronica. A man accused of attacking 2 men for speaking Spanish at an Aurora gas station is now in custody and facing a number of charges. Police arrested 28-year-old Rini Kassam Wednesday, not too far from where that attack happened near Mississippi and South Havana. The victims told investigators Kassam doused one of them with gas and tried to set him on fire before throwing a rock through their car window and stealing their keys. The attack was so traumatizing, one of the victims told Denver 7 he's leaving the country tomorrow. Denver 7 has learned a day after the attack, Kassam is accused of pulling a knife on a man and telling him to speak English. The second attack happened at an apartment complex near East Alabama Drive as Simon Aguadelo's family watched from a balcony.
It was something disgusting, I feel disgusted by this fact.
Just incredible and appalling video here. Kassam has been arrested several times before, including for DUI and domestic violence. In this most recent case, he is facing a dozen charges, including harassment and bias-motivated crime. He is due in court at the end of next month.
Department of Justice lawyers are on a deadline. They have now until 10 a.m. to release a redacted version of the affidavit used to search Mar-a-Lago. Attorney and Denver 7 reporter Jessica Crawford joins us now to break down the next steps in the case. Jessica, the DOJ says it's trying to balance transparency with protecting a serious investigation.
They are, and my goodness, 2 more hours until we could finally get some answers here. People familiar with the investigation are saying the search was part of a probe into possible mishandling of White House records, even documents related to nuclear weapons. That Trump denies. We could get a lot more clarity by 10 o'clock when that affidavit has to come out. And here's why some people are so anxious to see what it says. A search warrant is only issued after an affidavit is presented to a judge. And the affidavit describes the place, person, or thing to be searched. It describes the property that's being searched for. It also establishes the reasons why the warrant should be issued. These are all critical questions still 3 weeks after that Mar-a-Lago search. However, the Justice Department requested several redactions to protect the investigation and the people involved. So while we could learn a lot from the affidavit, there is a good chance that we won't learn much.
It's an effort to strike a balance by the magistrate between, on one hand, the government's desire to keep its investigation intact and public's interest in knowing what this is all about. If all of that evidence is disclosed to the public, then the Department of Justice is very concerned that the investigation will be impeded.
And there's been some concern about this being a political move while President Biden addressed the search of Trump's home publicly for the first time, saying that he had no advance knowledge of it. I'm Jessica Crawford, Denver 7.
Thanks, Jessica. Summer is winding down. Fall is next, of course, but we're kind of already looking ahead to the winter ski season.
The big gear sales are next week, and some great news weather-wise. If you're planning to hit the slopes this year, meteorologists are more confident that we could see above average snowfall in the mountains because there is a robust La Nina phenomenon happening. Relatively cool surface temperatures in parts of the Pacific Ocean that usually means good snow for us here in Colorado and the northern Rockies. These are the coolest temperatures they've seen since 2010.
I always wonder how accurate these predictions are, though.
No bomb cyclone.
Taking a live look outside from our Spear Boulevard studios. No snow in the forecast yet, but Lisa is tracking some storm chances to wrap up the work week. We'll see if that rain could wash out your weekend plans coming up.
What community leaders say needs to be done as monkeypox disproportionately impacts Colorado communities of color.
It has to do with resources. It has to do with access to health.